We're at the Putting Solutions studio at Formby Hall. I would say the main feature of the studio is the Zen green stage we have here, which basically is a movable platform. So the green, we can alter different gradients for up to 6%, either right to left, left to right. We can also do like multiple breaking puts, uphill, downhill. So there's an infinite combination of puts that we can hit on here. So on here, obviously what we've got there, and we've got a couple of devices which we can use to analyse the player. So we've got Sand Put Lab, which measures the movement of the putter. We've got Quintic ball roll system, which measures the launch and spin of the ball. And then we've got 4-camera system around, down the line, side on, above and behind, which films the player, and we can film at sort of high speed. So we're getting a very detailed picture of what that golfer's doing in terms of how the body sets up and move, what happens with the club, and then as a consequence what happens with the ball. And then we've got our monitors over there, so we've got 3 monitors where all the different information is fed through to, so we can look at the video, look at the Sand Put Lab, put it on the bigger screen if we need. And then this is the control for the Zen green stage, where we can alter the different percentages of the slope. Probably not at its tidiest at the moment, but obviously it's a working room, isn't it? So we've got all the different grips that we may sort of try with the player when you come into fitting. We've got a bunch of super stroke grips there. We're in the process of actually renewing the Odyssey putters, getting a new line in, so we're just short of a few putters here. And then we've got some sort of training aids that we will use during a session with a player, potentially. And then we've got a couple of bags here. So this is actually a bag signed by Henrik Stenson. This was the Callaway bag that they made for the Open in 2016, and obviously Henrik won that, so it was a sort of nice memento from that. This bag is for the bag that was made for the Open 2018 at Birkdale, and obviously with being a Southport lad, I had to get one of these Southport bags, and I got the players to sign it for me who I worked with that week, so there's a few good names on that. On this side of the room, we've got a couple of force plates. So this force plate's fixed in the ground, and this one's a portable one, so we can put it on the green stage if we need. And basically what the golfer will do, they'll stand on here and we can measure the centre of pressure and how that moves during the stroke. So it's kind of a nice visual to describe the balance at setup and movement. On this wall, we've got some of the putters that we would that we stock. I mean, obviously you've got different lengths, lie lofts, that's an important factor that you need to be fitted into, I think. But you know, big consideration, and there's also a lot of like talk at the head shape, how head shape could influence a stroke. So, or balance, I should say, head shape and balance. If you look at that, that's a sort of face balance putter, which is a mallet. So what that means is the axis of the shaft is lined up to the middle of the head. And then the size of this mallet and footprint gives it a high MOI. So that putter could perform differently, potentially, to a putter like this, which is toe balanced, and you can see the shaft then mounts closer to the heel, which gives it that toe balance. Also, this is a lot thinner head, so the CG is a lot further forward, smaller footprint. So there's different styles of putters, and potentially they could react differently to each player's stroke, but you really can only know that through measuring. You know, basically it's like describing that these putters would have different torque patterns, but a player would have a different torque pattern, how you apply torque to the handle. Until you get the two together and measure them, you don't know which one suits. So that's something that we'll try and do within the context of a lesson or fitting, is to measure which putter could suit your stroke. This is the championship wall. So, yeah, I mean, basically, I've always, you know, been given by some of the players, or even requested a flag when you work with a player and they've won a tournament. I think it's always a nice memento to get, isn't it? To sort of cement that win. And we've got obviously different flags from different players that we worked with over the years. On this wall here, we've got the 3 flags from the different players that I work with that managed to win the Open, so they're sort of particular pride of place on that wall. Every putting stroke that I look at, I always look at it in a critical point of view. It's hard to, you always see the weaknesses in people rather than the strengths, but there's lots of players that I've seen who have great putting strokes, but ultimately the best putter is a guy who gets the ball in the stroke the least, so sometimes they're not always conventional putting strokes, are they? But I'd say Howler up there, David Horsey, statistically he's a good putter that I've worked with over the years, from when he was an amateur through at every level. His putting stats have always been really good. Matt Fitzpatrick, I think, is a really good putter. His stats are good. And I think one of the biggest improvements I've seen of a player that I've worked with would be probably Justin Rose last year, from someone who's never been in the top 100. I think he was ranked #1 from 4 to 8 feet, and then in the top 20, which was like a big improvement for him. So, and technically he's really good. Like technically his stroke, I think, is good. So, yeah, there's obviously lots of great putters that I look at and admire that I've never worked with. Like, I always look at Jason Day and think like he's someone that looks like he's got a wonderful blend of good technique, like great processes in how he goes about his work, his routine, and he backs it up with great stats. He's a great putter. I think his stats are as good as anyone's in recent years. So he's someone that I would look at and admire.